Morning, good morning. If you're watching the replay, skip ahead. Hit that like button on your way in, and we'll see you on the other side.
Cool.
Welcome back, Fun Fam. And if you're brand new to the channel, welcome in to follow the Bradley's Fun. This is our daily dish show that we do just about every morning at 9:30 a.m. I hope that wherever you are in the world watching today, you are having a phenomenal day. As of the recording of this and this live stream that you may be watching right now, you may be watching it later, but if you're watching it right now, it is the 27th day of March in the year 2025. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see all these friendly faces popping in the door here this morning. Thanks so much for being here. Yesterday was a little bit of a different day. You may have seen that this daily dish got delayed all the way to almost 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I think, is when we ended up getting started. But Tuesdays and Thursdays are very important that we start the day off because we have big days on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Now, I'm typically only involved in this show on Thursdays, although it could be more. But we have this show followed by Culture Casino at 10:40. And you don't have to change that dial. We're already redirected to Culture Casino. So then you have Morning Magic with That Park Place Morning Magic at 11 a.m. So Culture has a 6-minute daily. Morning Magic, That Park Place at 11 a.m. And WDW Pro at 12. It's been a big news week. There's so many things happening. I cannot cover them all in this one single show. So hopefully I'm going to get a chance to do some big breakout videos because there is just so much going on right now. There's just park announcement news, Buzz Lightyear closing to get a refurb at Magic Kingdom, and I was at Animal Kingdom yesterday and saw all of the walls up, the construction walls around what used to be the Triceratops spin. They actually didn't get rid of that much. Like what the walls are currently around at Animal Kingdom is really not stuff that was utilized a whole lot. So Triceratops spin is gone, and the Midway games are gone, and that's it for right now. But it's a very large amount of space that's taken up there, and a couple of the shops. My favorite shop at Animal Kingdom is currently under refurb, and I don't know what they're going to do with it because it was really cool with this dinosaur theme, but like the very 1990s and very overly decorated, and I loved it. And I don't know what they're going to do with it in terms of Encanto, because that's what's going in there. But we'll see what happens. So there's just lots and lots of news. I want to there were people early in the door this morning, and I saw that, and it really, really motivated me. We started off with this gifty from Ruby Hoove. So thank you so much for that, Ruby Hoove. That deserves a celebration.
Too much? Too much? It's a birthday! Oh, this is just the best of my scene.
All right. And you know what? You guys, you're my energy in the morning. You get me out of bed. You are the gigawatts. You are the energon. You help me transform into a living creature and not a sleeping nightmare. Which is what I often feel like when I'm in bed and I don't want to get out of bed, and then I see the early comments and the early things coming in, and you guys, you're like the energon that makes this guy transform and roll out of bed in the morning to be here with you.
Toast, Autobots. Boy, these are good. I needed to refuel. Energy! This stuff's the greatest!
So let's say hi to everybody that's coming through the door while I still can. The cool thing about having a little bit of a smaller audience is I can pretty much say hi to everybody for right now. That may not always be the case. And in a way, it's one of those things where like, I hope it's not the case, because obviously I want to build a big giant audience, but at the same time, I love being able to say hi to everybody, and I will always say hi to as many as I possibly can as the show expands over time and usurps the viewership of The View, because that needs to be done, right? Nobody likes The View. Who's watching The View? Stop watching The View. Watch us instead. I'll see if I can get more co-hosts on. Some days I'm able to, and some days I'm not. It just depends on the day. Fairbrick Studio was first in the door this morning, so I'm going to say hi to everybody that I can. And hello, Wayne from across the pond. That service dog, woof, woof. Good morning, beautiful people. And then, of course, Ruby Hoove came in and gifted that beautiful membership. Who got that membership? Can I scroll up and see that? Nuanced Observer. Congratulations. You are a member of Follow the Bradley's Fun channel. And I think we are about 15 memberships shy right now of getting that new custom emoji for you all to use. So please, if anybody wants to gift memberships or anything like that, feel free to do that today, because we need like a big drop of like 15 all at once to make it happen, because otherwise some might drop off. But yes, indeed, that's what we're shooting for here. Snortapoopas Q Bird comes in with a hello, humans and other critters. And me seeing people coming through the door, I said thank you to Ruby Hoove and click like on the way in, because it's a good Thor's Day. That's right. Today was named after Thor. Somehow that got changed to Thur. I wonder if it would be very different in the Marvel universe if we were all calling him Thur. I am Thur, the god of thunder. That sounds more correct. I don't know. There. JD Friel, good morning. Go and Shogi is here. Good morning to our great wrench, Go and Shogi. We appreciate everything you do for the channel. We really, really, truly do. But you know that because I talked to you on the phone yesterday. And I love things that are possibly going to be coming from Go and Shogi. Really, really good things in the future. My mom is here. Good morning, Mom. Equus Heart has come through the door. Good morning, everyone. Equus Heart, Snorted Poopas Q Burr saying hi. Andy W, good morning. Thank you so much. I think it was Andy W that laid down the 5 yesterday during my live stream. I could be wrong, but I think it was you, if I remember correctly. So I definitely appreciate that. Speaking of that, we do have a goal of 5 super chats today. Now, those are kind of their own thing. They're not super stickers or anything else, but you can get in for as little as 99 cents to help out that goal of 5. And I think I still may have access to some gifted VIP memberships for thatparkplace.com. So just letting you know, we'll drop something if those 5 supers come in. We'll give it right back. Go and Shogi, Native Hawaiian comes through the door with aloha and good morning, y'all. Got a special That Game Place this AM at 10 a.m. also for the Nintendo Direct. That I did not realize that. But I'm not really I don't play games. I'm not a gamer. It's kind of funny, but I have a single game that I keep up with. I don't even really play it that much. But even that is it's just I've got so many other things that I need to do in my life that games just is not a big part of it. Now, my son, on the other hand, he loves to play games. Go and Shogi's talking about, I think, the new shop. And we've got our everybody coming in with this. Oh, I'm trying to see who else has come in. Maritza's Yarn and Crafts. I see that one. Hello. And Jonathan Rubin says, just heard Mega Million Lottery is going up to $5 soon. Good thing gambling isn't allowed at gas stations in Disney because that's expensive. Yeah. I don't play the lottery. Very, very few times have I ever played the lottery in my life, which, gambling is not really a thing for me. I've done it a little bit, and it's one of those things that when I do it, it just kind of gives me this feeling of ick. And I don't know how to describe that any other way other than, it's not for me. Just I don't like the feeling of the ick. Yeah, I used to play Pokemon Go on my phone, but yeah, it's just I've got so many other things, especially as a content creator. I'm like, I've got the parks, and I'm so close to the parks now. If I didn't live close to a park, and because that's where my time is spent. If I have time to do something like play a game, I'll end up going to the park. And there's games in the park, so you can do that there. But that's just the way it is for me. But let's get back to celebration. What do we celebrate on this channel? We do celebrate on this channel. That service dog. I'm with you on that one. I am 100% with you on that one. Yes, indeed. So we like to celebrate on this channel. So we celebrate anytime we're getting closer to the goal of 5. For example, we're going to celebrate that. We'll have a big celebration at the end if we get all 5 of the super chats in, right? So 99 cents and above could be any amount. We get all 5, or we get one big amount also. So I'll take one big amount over 5. Anyway, any of that happens, big old celebration, and I'll drop some gifted VIP Park Place memberships But as far as along the way, if anybody buys anything from our Follow the Bradleys Fun Spread shop, that will be this thing right here. We have to agree to the cookies shop now. This is where we have our Make Disney Walt Again merchandise and our Fedora Finds merchandise, our Follow the Bradleys Fun family logo avatar merchandise, things like this shirt for $32.49. Any of these things, if they are purchased during the show, we're going to celebrate that. Also, PayPal donations, Buy Me a Coffee donations, Super Chat, Super Thanks, Super Stickers. Somebody who's been a member for a while drops a member milestone chat. Somebody becomes a member of the channel, or gifted memberships are dropped. We are going to celebrate any of those things. So, for example, this gifted membership was dropped earlier today, and that brings us to the first celebration of the day. And if you are a member of the channel and we are celebrating, drop those dance emojis, drop those member emojis while we celebrate. And let's see. Now we have to start getting to the news. So, there's something that I'm trying to see. Is there a way I can put? There's a post that I wanted to get to. I read this to Go and Shogi yesterday. I don't know if I can get to it or not. On my screen, because it's in Facebook, and I don't know if I don't know if right now if I can get to Facebook on my computer. Oh, maybe I can. I'm trying to bring it up. This is not something I initially had planned for the show. Oh, no. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. I will have to share it at a later date. Alberto Molina. We may be related. I have Molinas in my family. Do you think it was RDJ Iron Man at the end yesterday, or Doom? He acted like Tony to me. To me, he acted like Robert Downey Jr., not really Tony Stark. The thing with him playing Tony Stark, I think Tony, the way he portrayed the character of Tony Stark was so much like who he is as a person. That's why it came across that way. But my guess is that we're talking about the Doctor Doom, which I think is going to be in another. I don't know how they're going to do it. It might be a different universe. I have no idea what they're going to do with it. I will talk about the announcement later, but I'm telling you, that announcement did not do anything to get me excited for the movie. It did actually quite the opposite. I'll get to that. That'll be like the last story that I cover. But yeah. The Bud Files. Trailer is out for what, Jonathan? The only thing that came yesterday was an announcement. That wasn't a trailer. But there might be a trailer out for something. I don't know. Let's see. Let's get to our news stories. There are a couple of them that we want to get to. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to deal with is this story that you've probably been seeing out of Variety. What's up, the Bud Files? Good to see you, Sue. So we've had this story out of Variety. People have been talking about it because it has revealed some scandalous goings on behind the scenes for Snow White. Let's put this on the screen. Inside Disney's Snow White fiasco, death threats, beefed up security, and a social media guru for Rachel Zegler. That is quite the headline. Written on March 25th by Tatiana Siegel. Oh, look, there is when did Rachel Zegler get cast as Little Red Riding Hood? I don't remember. Oh, wait, that's Snow White? Yeah, no, but she looks like Little Red Riding Hood. I don't understand what she's doing in a Red Riding Hood unless they're trying to tie something together that I don't know about. But let's get to the story. On August 12th, 2024, 3 days after Rachel Zegler hit the stage at Disney's D23 fan event to introduce the first official trailer of Snow White, she thanked supporters effusively in an expose for driving the teaser to 120 million views in 24 hours. Of course, she didn't mention the dislike to like ratio on said trailer, but that's neither here nor there for this particular article. 1 minute later, he added an afterthought in the same thread, and this was a post on X that was part of the trailer drop. This was not wise. She added an afterthought in the same thread. Quote, and always remember, free a certain place that is located in the Middle East, that some believe. So, yeah, you can read it on the screen. You can see what it is. For some reason, YouTube doesn't love it when we say those words sometimes. But anyhow, that addendum, which amassed 8.8 million views, which is nearly 4 times the number for the initial post, quickly made the rounds with, and this is what we didn't know before, with many inside the studio expressing shock that the Snow White star would commingle the promotion of his $270 million tentpole with any kind of a political statement. A Disney executive raised the studio's concerns with Zegler's team, while the film's producer, Mark Platt, flew to New York to speak directly with her. But the actress, whose relationship with the studio began to unravel in 2022 during a contentious West Side Story Awards season campaign, and continued as she trashed the beloved original Snow White, stood her ground, and the post remained. Behind the scenes, life-altering threats toward Zegler's co-star Gal Gadot, who is Israeli, spiked, and Disney had to pay for additional security for the mother of 4. Now, for those of you that don't know how Hollywood works, Gal Gadot is the one who actually has the star power for the movie. She didn't understand the repercussions of her actions as far as what that meant for the film, for Gal, and for anyone, says one Disney insider. So what I'm bringing up about Gal Gadot is that Gal Gadot is technically the star of Snow White because she has the star power that Rachel Zegler didn't have. Nobody even knew who Rachel Zegler was prior to her being cast as Snow White. It wasn't a big deal that she was cast in West Side Story as Maria, not nearly as big of a deal because that movie was a complete and total 100% flop. Nobody cared about it. Anyway, going on with the story. 3 months later, following the presidential election, Zegler posted, "Flip Donald Trump and may Trump supporters never know peace." She did not use the word flip, but you can see it right there in the print. On Instagram, Disney had had enough, given the star was signaling to half the potential audience of an already troubled film plagued by costly reshoots to stay home. Platt made the case again to Zegler. After a back and forth, she began working with a social media guru paid for by Disney to vet any post before the film's March 21st bow. We all remember that non-apology apology that was issued where there was no apology given, but it was pretty clear that there was a follow-up to that Instagram post that was clearly not written by Zegler herself. Disney, let's see. So she began to work with a social media guru paid for by Disney, vet any post before the film's March 24th bow. Disney declined to comment. Zegler did not respond to a request for comment. Now, that film's dismal opening weekend, $87 million worldwide, actually it was a little bit lower than that, is in the rearview mirror. Burbank brass are evaluating what went wrong. To put Snow White's global box office haul into perspective, it's about $34 million less than Warner Brothers' Joker Folie à Deux in October, but with a bigger budget by $70 million. You can say that a live-action remake of the most iconic film in the vault that cost $270 million and has been reshot multiple times, opening to $50 million, is okay. The math does not work. That movie should be a billion-dollar movie, said an executive at a rival studio. When the film was tracking for a $45 to $55 million domestic opening weekend, it ended up below even the low-end figure at $43 million. Actually, that was the estimated figure on Sunday when all the came due on Monday, and we got the actual figure. It was only $42.2 million domestically. The Disney Zegler stand-ups, by the way, that was lower than the Marvels, just for those that are looking for some type of perspective on that. The Disney Zegler stand-ups underscore the challenge Hollywood studios face as they attempt to rein in stars who court controversy on social media. For her part, Godot kept her comments on geopolitics limited to offering support for the civilian hostages taken during October 7th Hamas attacks and did not mix that message with the promotion of the film. That's really the important thing right there. Gal Gadot, in anything that she has said, has never commingled what she has said in her stance with actual promotion of the film. The biggest problem that Zegler has had is that she's commingling her version of politics, her takes, with the actual advertising of the film on social media. Zegler had already strained nerves at both the studio and Steven Spielberg's Amblin partners when she complained on social media that she wasn't invited to the 2022 Oscars as the star of the Best Picture nominee, West Side Story. A film distributed by Disney. Sources say she had just begun production on Snow White in London, and Sean Bailey, then president of Walt Disney Studios Motion Picture Production, declined to cut her loose for the telecast. After Zegler aired her grievances publicly, the Academy provided her with a ticket, even though she wasn't nominated. Bailey was gone from the job by February of 2024. Months later at D23, she criticized the original 1937 Snow White, noting that the prince literally stalks the heroine. By the way, that's 100%, like 1,000% untrue. Somebody didn't do her homework. Somebody did not watch that movie correctly. No, there's no stalking whatsoever. That's ridiculous. Always has been everybody that has any common sense has ever watched Snow White knows that that's a ridiculous statement, though. One top agent says that was the moment that Disney allowed Zegler to control the narrative. The first time she shoots her mouth off, you nip it in the bud. Instead, the studio said nothing and purists began to revolt. As time went on, Disney became increasingly loath to weigh in on anyone's speech, considering that the studio was sued in 2024 by actress Gina Carano, who claims she was fired from The Mandalorian for voicing her opinions on hot button issues. They say all press is good press, but in Snow White's case, they were unabashedly wrong, says box office analyst Jeff Bach of Exhibitor Relations. Too much negative controversy surrounded this film for years, and it didn't help that the reviews were subpar, likely rendering this latest live-action adventure to D+. I think that means Disney Plus, even though it does get a grade of D+. If lucky, I'd give it an F. For many potential ticket buyers, a possible saving grace, a feeble marketplace where Snow White can stay a while, as many family films have, despite the lackluster debut. I'm going to disagree with that a little bit because the Minecraft movie comes out not this week. This weekend? No, next weekend, I think. So not starting today, but starting a week from today, next Thursday, you'll be able to watch Minecraft, and a lot of people are going to want to go to the theater to see that. My friend Lorena Creole, just for Jason Momoa. Many additional factors contributed to the film's woes, including C-19 related production delay and a fire on set while the actors' strike scuttled some reshoots. Meanwhile, that wasn't the actors' strike, by the way, but that's Variety's take. Meanwhile, Disney's live-action movies, which were once reliable box office draws, have looked shakier in recent years, with the likes of Dumbo and Maleficent, Mistress of Evil bombing, and Peter Pan and Wendy getting shipped off to Disney Plus. Still, there was no bad blood between the two Snow White leads, despite press reports to the contrary. Sources say the actresses got along well during production, and things only got awkward during the run-up to the release. Case in point, ZEGLER referred to Gadot as a professional pageant queen in one Instagram reply that followed their joint appearances as presenters at the Oscars this month, considered a dismissive way to describe a fellow actress. Some would call that an insult. However, I happen to know professional pageant queens, and they are some of the greatest people I've ever met in my entire life. So I am going to consider that to be a compliment. Some observers, I know Rachel didn't mean it that way, but hey, you can take things the way you want to. Some observers say Disney fueled the perception of a feud by scheduling the actresses for separate events during junketing at the March 15th premiere, which eschewed traditional red carpet interviews and opted for photos only. The two stars were mostly kept apart. Inside the El Capitan Theater in Los Angeles, ZEGLER sat 2 rows ahead of Gadot and her family, but by that point, Disney had given up hope that the film could overcome the backlash that had been brewing like a fairy tale cauldron for years. They really revealed some behind the scenes stuff there that I have to follow up with. There was a response to that on Instagram, and Colin Rugg here out of X, he's going to kind of note what that response was. So going over to X, there's Colin Rugg. He says the son of Snow White producer Mark Platt absolutely unleashes on Rachel ZEGLER for ruining his father's movie. So this was that. This is a follow-up because remember in the story it says that they had to fly to her, to Rachel ZEGLER, and talk to her about her posts and her issues. Jonah Platt is Mark Platt's son. Mark Platt was the producer. Jonah Platt's ripping the 23-year-old actress for getting political and ruining Snow White. The comment from Platt was found on Instagram after one user asked why his dad flew to New York City to talk to ZEGLER about tanking the movie. By the way, this particular user, he didn't ask that in the way that he asked. It was like very, very rude. Very, very rude. Platt specifically blamed ZEGLER and her narcissism for the film's flop. Tens of thousands of people worked on that film, and she hijacked the conversation for her own immature desires at the risk of all the colleagues and crew and blue collar workers who depend on that movie to be successful. Narcissism is not something to be coddled or encouraged. And I don't have sound, so I'm not going to worry about the post from ZEGLER. But we are going to look at this. I'm trying to see how that comes across on. I might need to blow it up a little bit so you guys can see it. All right, so hopefully you guys can see this. If not, I'm going to read it. So the question was to Jonah Platt. So, and I don't, the user's name is blocked, so I don't know who said this, but it said your dad flew to New York City to reprimand a young actress. Any words on this? Because that's creepy as heck and uncalled for. People have the right to free speech. No shame on your father. What a horrible take that was. This guy completely, whoever that was, guy or gal, I have no idea, by the way, but whoever said that is off their rocker, and they clearly don't know how things work. Jonah Platt just scathing, his scathing, scolding retort back to this foolish person says, you really want to do this? Yeah, my dad, the producer of an enormous piece of Disney IP with hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, had to leave his family to fly across the country to reprimand his 20-year-old employee for dragging her personal politics into the middle of promoting the movie for which he signed a multi-million-dollar contract to get paid and do publicity for. This is called adult responsibility and accountability, and her actions clearly hurt the film's box office. Free speech does not mean you're allowed to say whatever you want in your private employment without repercussions. Tens of thousands of people worked on that film, and she hijacked the conversation for her own immature desires at the risk of all the colleagues and crew and blue-collar workers who depend on that movie to be successful. Narcissism is not something to be coddled or encouraged. That's a very fair, a very scathing, right? A very scathing, but a very fair assessment of what that initial writer wrote. So it's not surprising to have seen that. And I'm looking for what is basically the third follow-up to the same story. I'm going to put this on the screen because there needs to be a little bit of explanation as to why Rachel ZEGLER did not just get tanked. Now, the likelihood of Rachel ZEGLER getting another job in Hollywood anytime soon, I think, is probably pretty low. And we also know that for those people who said anything about Gal Gadot being the problem with this movie, maybe her acting and singing, I haven't seen the movie, so some people say that wasn't particularly good. But as far as her own personal opinions on things, she kept all that very separate. So I don't think you can put any of that into the controversy of this movie. Again, just a reminder, we do have the goal of 5 supers today. So if you need anything, you have any comments that you absolutely need me to get noticed or whatever, just let me know with a super and we will put that on the screen for you. But right now, what we're putting on the screen is this article out of thatparkplace.com. Rachel ZEGLER got a social media handler. Gina Carano got fired. The Disney Double Standard by M. Montanaro, written on March 27th, which is today. This came out just this morning, 2025. And there is Gina Carano in The Mandalorian, her Cara Dune character. One of the best characters Star Wars ever created, and then immediately got rid of because, obviously she was way too good for Disney Star Wars. The way Disney handled Rachel ZEGLER after her political social media meltdown stands in stark contrast with the company's firing of Gina Carano. In a just world, rules are applied equally, but in Disney's world, the only rule that matters is brand value, and everything else, including company values, is negotiable. This week, A Variety expose revealed that Disney assigned Snow White actress Rachel Zegler, a personal social media guru, to review her post after she published political messages that alienated a significant portion of the American public. Among them, flipped Donald Trump and made Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace. What an awful thing to comment, to say, to write. Normally, you would not want to wish half of your potential audience awful things. So think about that. A lead actress in a $270 million Disney family film openly wished misfortune on half the country. Not years ago, but during the run-up to the film's release in 2024. Disney's response? Not termination, not even a public reprimand, not even a real apology. They hired her a handler, and they did it in secret. They allowed her to maintain her public reputation and never directly respond to her behavior. Meanwhile, Gina Carano was fired from The Mandalorian, not for threats, not for vulgarity, not even for naming anyone, but for posting a meme. That's it. No profanity, no calls for division, no aggressive tirades. Disney and Lucasfilm fired her and dragged her through the mud in a public social media post. They burned her entire reputation to the ground over a meme. The contrast between how Disney treated these two women reveals more than double standard. It reveals a calculated corporate hierarchy of values where behavior is tolerated or punished based not on ethics, but on utility. Protecting an asset, not the message. According to Variety, Zegler's social media outbursts were so disruptive that Disney had to assign someone to monitor her accounts. The post that finally crossed the line, telling Trump voters to never know peace, wasn't her first offense. Months earlier, she posted "Free that little country in the Middle East that doesn't exist" on a post promoting the trailer for her PG-rated Disney remake, leading to a backlash so intense that Disney had to hire security for co-star Gal Gadot, who became a target due to Zegler's post. That is horrid. To think that this little childish imp of a girl posted something that actually threatened the life of her co-star and that co-star's family of six, actually. There's six of them in that family. His mother, father, and four kids. At one point, Mark Platt flew across the country to plead with Zegler to take down the post. She refused. Yet, she kept her job, got flown around the world in curated puff piece promo reels. She was shielded, polished, managed. There's the initial post. I'm not going to go over that. Now, we know why her sudden, I'm going to call it a non-apology because it wasn't an apology felt. Now we know why it felt so robotic. Let's just say the response. Now we know why her sudden response felt so robotic. At the time, many noted the difference in grammar, tone, and structure. It was polished corporate speak, not her voice. That's because it wasn't. It was manufactured damage control written by the people Disney hired to babysit her Instagram account. It wasn't an apology. It was a script. We'd honestly be shocked if she was the one who hit send. Before that, Zegler had reportedly thrown a hissy fit about not getting an invitation to the Oscars. She had also publicly bashed the original Snow White on more than one occasion, spitting on the very legacy of Walt Disney himself in the eyes of many fans. I would say millions and millions and millions of fans, possibly even billions of fans. Meanwhile, Gina Carano faced a firing squad. Gina Carano, on the other hand, shared a meme encouraging viewers to think about historical patterns of social targeting. There was no hate in her message. There was no vulgarity. There was no call for violence or division. This came after she refused a mandate to put pronouns in her Twitter bio and eventually added beep, bop, boop in response to the insane outcry for her against her for this simple stance. Carano never demeaned or even criticize anyone's lifestyle. She simply refused to participate. Um, as a matter of fact, the reason she used beep bop boop is it's droid speak. So the idea there was that, of course, a droid is not going to have any type of a gender anyway. So, yeah. And in response to this, a massive bullying campaign was launched against her, spearheaded by Disney darlings like Leslie Headland and, yes, Rachel Zegler herself. Disney wanted Carano to take part in a virtual struggle session where she was expected to face a panel of gender activists and be, quote unquote, re-educated. This would be the virtual equivalent of being placed in the stockades in the town square so that the villagers could throw old fruit at you. There's no indication that Disney ever requested Zegler to participate in any kind of humiliating publicity stunt. Carano refused to put herself through that ordeal. Then, when she shared the aforementioned meme, Disney fired her. There she is. Beautiful Gina Carano. She looked amazing. And strong. Like, she actually a literal, actual strong female character, Cara Dune, and they got rid of her because some idiots in their executive branch up there at in Burbank are just too foolish to know what the actual public wants because they live in a ridiculously small bubble, a bubble of extreme hatred from the left. I hate that. That's the only, when I say hate, I hate. that attitude that comes from the left against everything that is normal, man, it just bothers me. When you examine the timeline, it's clear that this wasn't just about Carano's post. Carano's right-leaning ideals didn't fit the progressive Disney mold. I wouldn't even say they were right-leaning. That's what's so funny. Her ideals didn't lean right. They just were very centrist. They leaned away from left, which means toward the center. They didn't even come close to really, honestly. None of her politics at that time actually spoke to right-wing politics. It was just normal, centristic, traditional, the way people think stuff. And she's asking people to think for themselves. All her meme did was ask people to think for themselves. She didn't conform to Disney's marketing image, and she didn't bend the knee, so they made an example of her, an example that they may come to regret in court. Man, I got to say, I'm cheering big time for Gina Carano that she wins some kind of multi-million-dollar settlement. I don't know what she wants to get out of it, but it needs to be punitive damages against Disney, the kind of damages that make a company actually hurt. That's what punitive damages are. So I hope it's big. I hope it's really big. The real message behind Disney's values, what Rachel Zegler's protection and Gina Carano's punishment reveal is simple. Disney's values are conditional. You can be divisive, inflammatory, and even dangerous so long as you're marketable, protected by the right social movements, and willing to play along with the machine when it matters. Zegler is a young, progressive, and tied to Disney's modern rebranding. She fits the box, so the company will protect her from herself, even when her own words cause damage to the very people she works with. Carano, she was outspoken, independent, and unwilling to recite the talking points. So she was framed as a threat, cast out, and erased. The irony of the situation is that Carano legitimately embodies the strong, independent, free-thinking, independent woman that Disney has tried and failed to market in its movies and TV shows for years. She could have been an actual role model to little girls, a tough, no-nonsense former cage fighter turned actress who still exuded grace and femininity. When you look at the Carano and Zegler situations and how they were handled, it becomes clear that this isn't about moral consistency. It is about utility, a future that hangs in the balance. There's one final question worth asking. Will Disney ever hire Zegler again? Will any studio stick their hands in that fire after the marketing mess that was Snow White? We don't know yet. It's possible they've learned their lesson behind closed doors. The fact that Variety is only now revealing the extent of their internal panic suggests Disney may be trying to distance itself quietly post-release. ZEGLER may never star in another Disney film, but if that happens, it'll be silent, slow, and strategic. However, Hollywood has a track record of rewarding loudmouth ideologues who spout progressive ideals regardless of box office results. If history holds, ZEGLER will land another prestige role, another reboot, another high-profile campaign. That's been the pattern for years. Embrace the loudest voices that match your politics and bury the ones that don't. In contrast, Carano is still fighting, this time in court. Her lawsuit against Disney, funded by Elon Musk, alleges political discrimination and wrongful termination. With this new evidence from Variety, she doesn't just have a claim, she has a case study. The irony here is that Rachel ZEGLER bullied and demonized Carano, and now her actions might be the key to Gina's ultimate victory over the House of Mouse, because while ZEGLER was given handlers, Carano was given headlines. While ZEGLER was insulated, Carano was incinerated. And while ZEGLER got protection, Carano got punished. Disney's definition of kindness, inclusion, and accountability only applies when it's convenient. And the rest of the world is finally catching on. Yes, indeed. And, that is Gina Carano on the Sean Ryan Show on YouTube. Not something I knew that she had appeared on. Yeah, her what they did to Gina Carano was ridiculous. Some say that the reason they didn't do anything to Rachel ZEGLER is because they were afraid of Gina Carano's situation repeating itself and didn't want yet another lawsuit, except that I don't know. We'll see how things play out. I think Gina Carano is going to win. I think she's going to win big. She certainly deserves to win big, especially now that this thing is coming to the light and in court in today's environment. Things have changed a lot over the last few years. I'm just saying, and that may not be the best thing in the world for Disney. But speaking of Disney, we have another story, and this is from Marvel. There was a big announcement made yesterday, and I'm going to show you that announcement without playing any sound to it. I'm going to share this, and let's see if we can put this on the screen. Now, this may play slow because I've noticed that when I do the show and I play YouTube videos along with the show, they don't play as well as I might like them to. But here's the announcement from Marvel, owned by Disney, yesterday. Let's take some other things off of the screen. And that may help. All right. So I'm just going to play this. There's not really much sound, so I may comment on it along the way. Let's read the names, shall we? Chris Hemsworth, Vanessa Kirby. Then there's Anthony Mackie, Sebastian Stan, Letitia Wright. By the way, so far, Paul Rudd, only one major Avenger. There's a minor Avenger, Ant-Man. Wyatt Russell, not an Avenger. Tenoch Huerta Mejia, not an Avenger. Eben Boss Bachrach, not an Avenger. Simu Liu was not an Avenger. Florence Pugh, again, Kelsey Grammer, Danny Ramirez, Joseph Winston Duke, Hannah John Kamen, Tom Hiddleston, finally, Loki's going to be in it, Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, Alan Cumming, Channing Tatum, Pedro Pascal, Robert Downey Jr. And then he gets up and he notices that he's the only person in the room. So what's going to happen in the movie? Dr. Doom gets rid of the Avengers or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what it was supposed to be, but that was the whole of the announcement. Now, the way they released that announcement was over a 5-hour long live stream where people were just sitting there bored out of their mind. What the heck was going on with that live stream? I think I don't think I could care any less about the Avengers. Exactly. It's at this point in time, they have lost fan interest. You and I talked about this yesterday. Of course, it's there's a number of names that don't show up, and again, this is a 2-part type of movie. I think that they're doing. This is kind of funny. Sam says it'd be more entertaining if there are metal chairs and they went full on WWE on each other. My money's on Winston Duke and Wyatt Russell in the end. Very possible. Very possible. But we're going to share this because I find this to be one of the more interesting things to come out of this. And that is Brie Larson not announced for Avengers Doomsday as MCU snubs all 3 of the Marvels massive cast announcement. It's going to be such a weird movie. And it's not going to have anything to do with anything that people loved 5-10 years ago. Endgame was the end of the MCU. The only thing that they could do now is between the next 2 movies that are Avengers movies coming up, if they absolutely purposefully destroy the universe. And they basically end up doing what Thanos promised he was going to do, which is destroy the entire universe and restart it, and that nobody would know. It may not be in a Thanos type of way, but that's kind of what needs to happen right now. That's the only thing that makes sense, is for them to completely restart everything from the beginning and build a new Marvel Cinematic Universe, because they have written themselves into a really, really bad corner, in my opinion. But of course, Brie Larson was snubbed in this announcement, which probably just means she's in some other future project. That would be my guess. This is also Mr. Montanaro out of thatparkplace.com. Marvel's latest live event on X, an hours-long slog of director's chair reveals, finally wrapped with some legacy crowd pleasers like Robert Downey Jr. and returning X-Men icons. But buried under the fanfare is a glaring omission that speaks volumes. Brie Larson and her Marvel's co-stars were nowhere to be found in the Avengers Doomsday cast. Not one chair for Brie, Tiana, or Iman Vellani. That, by the way, would be Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, or Ms. Marvel. Instead, Marvel took the time to highlight characters like Red Guardian, Ghost, and M'Baku, side characters who barely registered with general audiences, yet apparently earned their place in Marvel's future over the trio that headlined the Marvels. The silence is deafening. That picture right there, to me, Avengers Doomsday with a bunch of empty chairs, that kind of, to me, just tells me what the movie is. Just empty. Just empty at this point in time. It'll be interesting to see what happens in a year or 2 from now when the first trailers start to emerge. The absence of Larson and her co-stars did not go unnoticed. While some fans speculated that more names might be added in future announcements, many others took it as a sign of Marvel quietly abandoning ship. After all, the Marvels wasn't just a minor underperformer, it was a box office disaster with a reported production budget of $270 million, millions more in marketing. The film barely scraped together $206 million globally, just 84.5 million domestically and 121.6 million internationally. That puts it among the worst performing MCU films ever made, a stain on the studio's once unbreakable record. It's not just the numbers, it's the trajectory. The Marvels suffered one of the steepest second weekend drops in franchise history, signaling disinterested and negative word of mouth. The film's tone, pacing, and incoherent plot were widely criticized, and its rushed production timeline became an open secret. Even Marvel loyalists admitted the film felt like a production of obligation rather than inspiration. Then there's the Brie Larson factor. Since her debut in Captain Marvel, Larson has been one of the most polarizing figures in the history of the MCU. Yeah, they can only do worse by hiring Rachel Zegler to play something. Her press appearances were often marked by condescension and divisive remarks. She infamously stated she was tired of seeing white men reviewing her films, arguing that the industry needed more diverse voices. While some saw this as a push for inclusivity, many longtime fans saw it as an unprovoked attack on the franchise's core audience. Excuse me. Larson's comments didn't stop there. Her activism-heavy approach to Hollywood has consistently bled her into public persona, often coming off as lecturing rather than leading. Even her Marvel co-stars appeared visibly uncomfortable during press junkets, with multiple viral compilations showing awkward interactions between Larson, Chris Hemsworth, and Don Cheadle. Instead of rallying the fan base, Larson fractured it. Rather than embracing the role as a beloved hero, she seemed more focused on using the platform for cultural messages many fans didn't sign up for when buying tickets to superhero films. This rift has never healed, and Larson has become something of a poster child for what many online critics called the MCU. Had a bit of a cough there. Marvel, for a time, doubled it down. They pushed Captain Marvel as a key piece of the Avengers' future, perhaps emboldened by the strong box office performance of Captain Marvel. However, many attribute that box office take to the movie being hyped in the post-credit scene of Avengers Infinity War following the major cliffhanger ending. Yes, they positioned the first Captain Marvel movie in that perfect place to do very well at the box office. And then a lot of people saw it, and it was widely panned, but people were still excited for Endgame coming up. So there you go. Still, Captain Marvel was billed as the most powerful hero in the MCU. She was meant to be the new Tony Stark and lead the team into the future, but audiences never connected with her the same way. Merchandise didn't sell, fan enthusiasm flatlined, and now it seems Marvel may finally be acknowledging that reality and leaving Brie Larson out of Avengers Doomsday. The latest rollout didn't just exclude Larson, it actively prioritized lesser-known characters over her. Red Guardian, Ghost, even M'Baku, a side player from Black Panther, made the cut. Meanwhile, Carol Danvers, who was once teased as the savior of the MCU's next phase, didn't even get a seat. That's not a coincidence. That's a signal. To be fair, Marvel hasn't made any official statements about Larson's future. This could all be a temporary shift, or perhaps they're simply saving her for Secret Wars. But for now, Larson's critics are breathing a long overdue sigh of relief. For years, they've argued that her casting, tone, and approach were out of sync with what fans wanted. And for the first time, it looks like Marvel may agree. There's a lesson here about hubris, about listening to the audience, about knowing when a course correction is needed. Marvel built its empire by understanding its fans and delivering characters they could rally behind. With Brie Larson and the Marvels, that connection was never there. And if this event is any indication, Marvel might be ready to move on. Whether they officially announce a recast, quietly retire the character, or simply minimize her presence going forward, well, the writing is on the wall. And I would think not, and I wouldn't, it's not really an argument, but I think just based on the casting, based on the old X-Men being in this, that there's going to be universe hopping, and they have no choice. It's dumb, but they have no choice. You have the Fantastic Four from one universe, you have the X-Men from a different universe, you have some of the current characters in the main timeline. You have Loki holding all the timelines together. It's so convoluted right now, the way they have the storyline, that it just doesn't make any sense. And in my personal opinion, they very much went the wrong way. Storyline. They never should have included the Eternals. The Eternals shouldn't have happened. there's a lot of mistakes that they made. There's just so many mistakes I can't even go over them all. But the one thing that we know is definitely not a mistake is you guys. You guys watching this today are no mistake whatsoever. You are the best audience on YouTube. And again, thank you, Ruby Hoove, for gifting that one follow the Bradley's Fun membership, which deserves to be celebrated. If you remember and you got the emojis, get them ready because here we go. Yeah, indeedy doodah. Yeah, definitely. There's some things. By the way, did you notice that Doctor Strange also? Benedict Cumberbatch is not listed in this, so there were a lot of names that are not in this movie. Of main players like Doctor Strange is not in this movie. Spider-Man is not in this movie. Of course, Captain Marvel not in this movie. I'm trying to think of the Hulk not in this movie. Not Green or Red Hulk. Not She-Hulk. No Hulks. Very interesting casting. So it's going to be interesting to see. Like based on the casting, I'm kind of interested to see how convoluted the story is going to be, but it's probably not something that I'm going to watch in a movie theater. It's a big movie. I don't care. I really don't care. Logan, yeah. Wolverine, Deadpool, Wolverine, not in the movie. Just a lot. Except characters from Deadpool and Wolverine, which I thought the Gambit is in this movie. There's some it's going to be so convoluted that's not going to make any sense. But anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching so much today. Come back. We'll be here tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. for another episode of The Daily Dish. Check out that spread shop and everything else. We are going to send you now over to Culture Casino, his 6-minute daily, which will, I think that should be up. That should be good. And how's he doing that with? I don't know. I don't know what the schedule is, but I saw a 6-minute daily up. So that should be where you guys get redirected to automatically. And until next time, we will, in fact, see you real soon. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Ciao. Bye.